language limitation?
Whatever you want.
There's nothing racist, sexist, or homophobic, but other than that.
Okay, bye, guys.
Welcome, viewers. Hey, Jeffrey McKinney. How's everybody doing? All right.
Doing good. Hey, by the way, and Ryan Hannigan is watching live. For those of you watching the video, this is being recorded a week early so we can have a little vacation. So, Merry Christmas, motherfuckers.
Feliz Navidad.
I think we've got everything in here.
Ryan Hannigan, that's a familiar name.
Focus on the beer.
Gotcha. Yep.
So he found out you were going to be on here, so I figured he'd be in here stalking us.
Cool.
See that? You're famous, right?
Add him to my list of stalkers.
Let's see. No, we don't do that anymore. At the end of the show, even though this is a podcast, I'm going to say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast. And then all of us will say, and you can do this or not, you'll probably forget, but we go, where you'll never drink alone. And we all kind of punch our camera for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's synergistic.
That gives you an idea of the time you're about to experience on the We Like.
By the way, this is my podcast, Cherry.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
We are happy to pop it.
Yeah, you should see the floor.
I don't know what you're gonna put on the bottom of a can for this.
It was white shag carpeting. All right. Sorry, Consuela.
Let's see. Let me make sure I'm recording over here. Jeremy, would you mind giving us a little promo audio?
Promo audio? Fire us up, lead us in?
Yeah. So generally, you can do whatever you want, but generally people say something like, this is Jeremy Rudolf, the inventor of the Crowler, or Jeremy Rudolf with Oskar Blues. And you're listening to the We Like Drinking podcast, where you never drink alone.
Okay.
Anytime you're ready, just go for
Try
it.
something out. Hey, everybody. Jeremy Rudolf coming to you with Crowler in hand. So grab that fresh Crowler, wherever you scored it from. Crack it open. Join us, because we like drinking, and this is where you'll never drink alone.
Boom.
Yeah.
Like it. All right. Anything else, Jeff? Do you want to finish your dinner? Or are you good?
I'm almost done. You know.
Fruit Loops 30.
It's soup, everybody. So if I have to pee, I'll blame the soup.
Soup and beer. Yeah. I peed right before.
That's usually a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Anything else, guys, before we go? Jeremy, any questions?
No, just be gentle.
All right.
Pop the clutch on this thing.
All right. Here we go.
Hey, I'm John Hall, the author of Drink Beer, Think Beer, Getting to the Bottom of Every Pint. And you are watching, listening, absorbing, digesting the We Like Drinking podcast, where you never drink alone. And that's a good thing.
At the sound of the tone, the official We Like Drinking time will be 5 o'clock. Commence consumption.
Thank you for joining us for the award-winning We Like Drinking podcast, episode 207. In this episode, we'll be discussing untapped snobbery, clues about Oskar Blues, and we can't control ourselves because we've got the inventor of the Crowler, Jeremy Rudolf, with us. So crack open your beers, uncork that wine, and let's get drinking. All right, listeners, viewers, Hannigans, we are off and running on episode 207 of the only two-time award-winning topical beer and wine education podcast, focusing on, what is it, Jeff Solomon?
Fun. But hey, man,
what?
You're burying the lead. I wrote the little intro there. You see all caps for can't?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
That's fucking comedy gold right there. Get it? Can't?
I pronounced it like you said it. Wrote it.
Can't? I should have put extra A's in there. Okay.
You should have. Yeah. You know, I'm not that bright. All right. So listeners, if you like what you're hearing in 35 seconds, consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcast. Give us a big fat 5-star review. We would really appreciate it. But man, we got to get to this. I think we got a lot of crowling to do tonight. So let's find out who we're drinking with tonight. We've got our usual cast member. We got our wine blogger, Jeff Solomon.
Hello. I did that one time.
We've got our commercial brewer, John Ruyek.
Oh, yep. Fresh out of the brewery.
Nice. And I am your host, Jeff Eccles. And our guest tonight has been credited with being the inventor of the Crowler beer storage system. The can Growler is a 32-ounce can that is filled with beer at the tap in your favorite brewery, then sealed by a small sealing machine, at which point the can is ready to be taken home. He is the beer traffic control freak of Oskar Blues, and he is Jeremy Rudolf. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thank you, everyone. More cans, more beers, and more places. Pleasure.
That's right. That's right. I've got a lot of cans here today and some beers too. So let's find out what we're all drinking. I'm super excited about this. Jeremy, let's start with you. What is in your glass this evening?
So I've been busy in the brewery today. Didn't have a chance to run out and try the neighbor stuff, though. I did have a Sierra Nevada celebration for lunch when I did squeeze out real fast. Fantastic beer. But the can's in my hand right now. We got a fresh Dale's wide open. Gonna dig into a nice resealable Crowler of Can of Bliss. And then new one to the game, Wild Basin, is our seltzer.
Ooh. How's that? How are those doing?
It just started shipping a week ago. It's in the Longmont, Denver market, state of Colorado. It'll start opening up in North Carolina in 2 weeks, and then start hitting more of the country, about half of the country, launching in March to April.
Okay.
Just
I've already
a little bit of baby steps, but take care of the homeland first.
There you go. Got to do it. John Ruyek.
Sharon and I opened up a bottle of Vivac Montepulciano last night, so there's about half left, and I'm going to finish that off during the show. And if things get crazy, I've got a New Belgian Oak Spire bourbon barrel beer.
They will get crazy, so just prepare to open it.
Yeah. Well, so I'll probably be pouring it into this wine glass. That should be fun.
That works. Jim Myers that's his first rollover in his podcast grave of the evening. Jeff Solomon.
Only because we have to meet our quota here. I need to say, oh, it's a Vino Nobile de Montepulciano de Abruzzo.
Yeah, grapes grown in New Mexico. Yeah,
exactly. Dixon, right? It's Dixon, New Mexico, right?
Correct.
Yeah. You've got that. You got that Dixon voice down solid, Jeff Solomon.
Oh, thanks so much.
How many Dixon, New Mexico?
Hey, so as I am uncrumpling this can that I smashed on my head, I was actually gonna pick up originally I was gonna go pick up something in a Crowler from a local brewery, and just things didn't work out right. The brewery right down the street from me is closed for renovations, and everything by my work, I got out kind of early today, and they didn't open till 2 hours later. So I'm like, I'm just going to pick up some Oskar Blues at the store. And I stopped by the store, and their selection was bare. They did have the Pinner IPA, and I picked it up, and I saw that there were like 2 Sixers left. And I looked at the bottom of the can, and I saw that it was one that was canned in like 2017. So I'm like, I'm
return to sender.
Yeah, I'm solid.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna pick up a beer in a can. I hope that y'all are okay with Mother Earth Brew Company. I picked up their
guys are awesome.
Yeah, I picked up their Buku IPA at 6.5%.
Good move. Mother Earth guys are awesome. Yep, got some buddies over there. Good folks.
Nice. And I'm drinking it out of my favorite beer glass, my Altamont Beer Works with the Giants logo. Thanks again, Brad and Tony.
The can glass.
Yeah.
Stay classy.
I am following Jeremy's suit. I'm starting off with the Dale's Pale Ale. And then I'm going to slip into the Gnite Imperial Red IPA, throwing that out for Dolly, one of our listeners that was into the red, looking for some information on the red IPAs earlier this year. So going to go with that one. I picked up your the mix pack.
Nice.
Is what I got there. Yeah, I got the last one. The guy had to go in the back to get it because they just had all of the 15 packs, but I had to go get the mix pack out.
Gotcha.
All right, so that's what we're drinking. So we're super excited about that. But now it's time to get into a little bit of the learning, find out how smart these guys are with a little bit we like to call grape hop or pop culture reference. So this is where I give these guys a term, and they try to tell me if it's a wine grape, a beer hop, or some kind of pop culture reference. The term this week is, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, which is no surprise to anybody.
There must be an umlaut in it.
It must be an Italian wine grape. Let's move on.
Let's go. Okay. The term this week is fugly. Or you could say fugly. We'll see, but that is it. So let's see. I believe, John, you're starting it off this week.
I started last week.
All right, Jeff Solomon.
Really, you're making me do this. So it's funny because it almost sounds like a beer hop. Like I believe Fuggles is a beer hops variety.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just where I'm from, but I think like everybody, like the world over, fugly is when someone's fucking ugly. It's you forgot to put the apostrophe in there. It's F apostrophe UGLY.
You didn't ask me to spell it.
Yeah.
Could you spell it, please?
FUGLI.
Oh, well, this changes everything. Okay. This is a white Italian wine grape, and it's pronounced Fugly.
Okay. All right, there you go. I'm going to give Jeremy a pass for a second and go to John Ruyak.
Yeah, I think Solomon beat me to the punch. But I'm going to say it's a Southern Italian white wine grape from the tip of the boot.
Okay.
Wait a second. Hold up. You're giving Jeremy a pass? That means it's hops.
No. For a moment, I'm going to come back to him.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
So,
I'm sticking with it. Italian white wine grape.
All right, Jeremy. Do you have any idea? And could you tell me if I'm mispronouncing it or not? But what fugly is?
Actually, you pronounced it right both ways.
Okay.
Fugly is the name of something, and so is fuguri. One is a Japanese pronunciation, and one is an English bunch of idiots who made a beer and smashed some stuff together. So it's not exactly a hop. It's actually something made with hops and a bunch of different ingredients. And one of the ingredients was ugly fruit. And so fruit ugly became fugly. Mm-hmm. We made an ugly fruit and yuzu session IPA with some friends from Japan. Yuzu's orangey, lemony citrus. That's just awesome in lighter style beers. So fugly is that. But fuguri is actually the bottom part of a sumo wrestler's basically thong that he wears. It's the part that goes right down and across the taint. You know, that's so people in Japan really got a kick out of the name too.
Yeah, I'm sure they're lining up to buy it. So yes.
So that was a very limited release seasonal that we've done the last 2 years. It gets released in May and June. It's just a fun beer. Trying to use some exotic fruits and hang out with some friends across the Pacific.
Awesome. Yes, actually, you are right. It was really just a test to see if the other guys spent any time on the Oskar Blues website at all. Leading up.
It is also an exotic white wine grape. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So well done, Jeremy. You did name fugly or fugly. That was fun.
So it wasn't a grape. or it wasn't really a hop. That was a pop culture reference.
It was a pop
Yeah.
culture reference. That's correct.
By the way, I did once eat at a sumo-themed restaurant when I was in Japan, and I'm pretty sure some fuguri showed up in one of the dishes.
Did you send it back?
I thought it was just part
Don't
of
use
the
the towels
experience.
that are already in the basket.
Yeah, I thought it was a hot towel. I just started slapping it on my face.
All right. So Jeremy, you're kind of an OG in the Oskar Blues facility. Is that correct?
I have been around a while. Yep. Haven't kicked me out yet. They already dug my funeral plot in the back. I think they're going to bury me here because I got a pretty great gig. I love being an OB guy.
That's awesome. So listeners, if you don't know, most of us are drinking out of cans of beer today, and Oskar Blues has kind of been credited with being the first brewery to really start using cans from the craft beer side. Obviously, the macros were using it for a long time. And so Oskar Blues started that. Jeremy, you came on after that, right? You were there post canning.
5 years after they started canning, I came on when it turned into, holy crap, people want this beer all over the place. Came to the little town of Lyons, tried the beer, and they were sending it to Denver, Boulder, but then people want it in Georgia and Portland, and it was like, what do we do? So I came in. I was part of the help.
Okay, and what is your responsibilities within the Oskar Blues organization?
I've always worked in packaging. I started working on the can line in a barn in Lyons, just hand canning, hand packaging, a 6-pack at a time. And now I still work in the packaging world, production world, operations. Not smart enough to brew. Love to create feedback for the brewers. They're pretty receptive and really smart guys and gals. But I'm help build a brewery, help work. I just got done. Can line still running in the back, a little short staffed. Huge production week. So, I'm really just, one of my titles too is Canigma. I'm kind of hard to explain what I do. I just try to help. I love that I get to help people reach out to me and ask for help. So,
yeah.
And Jeremy, you said, just real quick, you said you're not smart enough to brew. You're very smart not to brew.
It's one of the number one questions I get all the time is, so you're a brewer? Are you a brewer? And it's just it's a different phrase. It means different things to different people. You work in a brewery, you really are a brewer, especially, if depending on the volume of it, I'm not a specialized trade. Yes, I've helped brew. Yes, I can contribute, but there's just certain intricacies that I don't know and don't even know how to appreciate. But I learn more every day. I'm definitely don't know everything, and continue to pull a lot of great shit out of the day-to-day trials and tribulations and awesome beers. And going and visiting other breweries too. It kind of smacks you around and gives you perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And this is one of the things, I mean, besides producing fantastic beer, Oskar Brews really has been at the forefront in kind of the packaging and side of things. And that's kind of where you come in. They started off with the canning, but then you came up with the Crowler, which has kind of turned into its own whole, I guess, arm of the Oskar Blues.
Yeah, it spun off into its own, non-beer thing. It was more of a beer access vehicle. It became a brewer-to-brewer thing at first, just hooking up the neighbors because cans have to come in large quantities. So it was very prohibitive. Machinery used to be huge and expensive, and it's gotten smaller. So now you have mobile canning and smaller machinery, but you still don't have somebody being like, hey, you need 100 cans? I got you. And there's packaging supplies places that you can go to, but they come with fees, and it's not a brewer to brewer relationship. So I like the ability to buy a truckload of something, chop it up, and help the neighbors borrow a cup of sugar kind of thing. So, it does have to pay for itself because we hired a dozen more people, but everybody's running around just trying to fulfill the needs of all our brethren that want to put beer in cans. It started with folks from SCA came through during GABF right after we put it in. Mike Hess came through. He's a San Diego guy. Guys from Mother Earth have come through as well. Earlier adopters were just like, dude, that machine's awesome. We want that. And then we just figured it out. And then it grew and grew. And now you see it in certain bars where it's legal. You guys in California can't have it anywhere but in a brewery. And I think that's the best place to get fresh beer. So it works well. But also some states you can roll up somewhere and get it from a beer bar or off-premise. Different states, different deals. So
is that
Colorado, California, it's brewer only. And luckily you got a lot of good options because you got a ton of good breweries. Some other states, you roll into a place in Pennsylvania, you like the beer you're drinking, they can put in a Ziploc bag if they want.
Wait a second.
That's the way Pennsylvania rolls.
I feel like this is breaking news. You're saying that Pennsylvania is more lax on filling a Crowler than California or Colorado?
Yes.
That's like the first time ever that I think all of a sudden California went from A+.
1 point, Pennsylvania.
California went from A+ to A-, and Pennsylvania is scraping a C- now.
Yeah, all us big craft states, some of the bigger ones. Pennsylvania is one of the biggest. They're always in the top 5. But California, Colorado, there's quite a few states that it's brewer only that you can fill a growler. So our brewery in Texas, if it was a small pub, would be able to sell beer to go. But our, in some states, it's worse than Colorado. You can't even sell beer to go out of our brewery in Austin. So it's just case by case, and everybody looks at things differently, and it all still works out. We still figure out how to get people a lot of good, tasty beer. And so the Crowler thing was just one of those, kind of a buyer's club thing at first, and then it got legs into lots of different arenas outside of breweries, and now there's thousands of machines out there and all kinds of different options, and we're just trying to be in the middle of it and kind of help corral it so that it keeps some integrity and quality. That it's, we don't want people just throwing beer in a can and calling it good forever. A can is a container like anything else. It's not a time capsule, so you got to do a good job getting the product in there. Every step in brewing is the next opportunity to screw up all the hard work that happened beforehand. Yeah. So if you don't package it, respect it, you're just trying to make money. And there's a little bit of that in everything. So we focus a lot on service and support. We send out little love notes and tap people because we are their can supplier. We also want to make sure their machine works, that they're happy, and we do the Survey Monkey thing and all that. So it's just trying to make sure that everybody's taken care of so that cans maintain that kick-ass, highly portable, highly recyclable, superior package kind of thing. Not perfect, but pretty great.
Pretty good. And I love it. I was a big Growler fan, and this is just, it's just better.
It's a growler. It just happens to be metal,
So, but I'm, innovation is typically someone, answering a question or solving a need that hasn't been solved yet. Right. Yep. So what was it that you saw that made you start designing what would be the Crowler, and how did that kind of design process work?
It was actually a bit of a constructive narrow-mindedness. Working in a cannery, there's no bottling going on in the facility I kind of grew up in. So everywhere there was glass, it seemed counterintuitive. Pint glasses, I'd said, have we ever tried metal ones? I would ask all kinds of crazy questions. We go out on the patio and boom, congratulations on your light struck beer. We should have a patio pint made out of, stainless or something. Just, people like to look at their beer, all that. And then just started picking on the glass growler. Why do we do that? So we started getting stainless steel double wall growlers. But the cost, your firstborn and $65. So it was like, well, that's prohibitive. So what do we do? IV bags? What are we going to do? And so seeing some of these small tabletop old school steamers at Ball Metal, where we get all our cans made, we were working on some R&D stuff for Old Chub Nitro cans. And Roy and Ed, who work at Ball, had taken a bunch of these steamers and we're taking them around to small brewers who wanted to start canning to get samples, basically having them can up 32-ounce cans so it could come to the lab and be tested instead of sending in glass and other things. Because Ball too likes likes cans. So sending in a glass sample is kind of a goofy thing. So we're having fun with it. And I said, is there any way I could take one of those and put it in our tap room? Because I think we could get rid of glass in a week. And we never ordered glass again. And it just became a great thing. We already have a cooler full of, beer that's prepackaged on multi-million-dollar machinery and stuff. And that's great because that's your single serve, 12-ounce cans. But all the specialties that don't have a chance to run through the big line, they didn't have a way to get to people's homes and get to other states for people to share over the holidays. So this just was a fantastic vehicle for it. And we've just been trying to evolve it ever since. And now we have a resealable one. So if you're on the boat, you're not afraid to take it with you because you could throw a lid on it and, start drinking in the parking lot before your hike and, not have to wait till the top to crack it open and slug down 32 ounces.
I saw that.
It is, 2 pints is a bit formidable. So it's nice to give people the option to reseal, not reuse, not drink half and keep it for a month. Just, not have it go everywhere.
All right, John.
So take us through properly filling a Crowler.
Okay. So our prescribed method is pretty straightforward. We now have some new options that I can cover afterwards, but the straightforward way of doing it, what I like to do is first off, make sure you're respecting the cans that you're going to be using. Don't throw them in a bag. Don't leave them out in the open where dust and things can fall into the cans. Keep them covered. And then when you're going to use them, I store them upside down in a case flat. 14 of them nest beautifully in a case flat. And keep them right there at the bar. Have your ammo ready to go. A stack of lids in a Tupperware container so that you're not sticking your finger on the underside of the lid or anything like that. You just grab them by the side and place it on the can as needed. But the can itself is 32 ounces of air before you're about to put beer in it. So the first thing to do is to flush the can with an available gas, which more often than not is CO2, and sometimes it's a house blended gas. But what you can do is make one of your draft lines a dead line that's just 5 psi of gas, or you run a separate little line, a little on-off switch. 5 seconds, low pressure, you're just fogging out that ambient air and giving the can a chance to not be full of air. And then pour it off the draft. What I like to do is I pour them sideways so it pours as flat as possible. You don't want a lot of the breakout. Turn it down. As soon as the beer has reached the neck of the can, it's full. It will foam up just in the moment while you transfer it. Put a lid on, put it right in. You don't fill one, put it down with no lid on it, fill another one, put it down and stare at it. It's fill the can, put a lid on the can, seal the can, start all over. It's a start to finish process, and that gives the beer the best chance of not sitting out and getting its butt kicked by all the air. If you don't purge the can, if you do try to run 5 of them at once, that stuff's good for days max because it's just not set up for success like if you repeat the same process. And people are, outside of advice or even just with a little misguided optimism because it's a can, storing these things too long. So it's really important for whoever's filling it not to advocate for long storage, but to set it up for less than ideal conditions, which is you should drink it in the month that you bought it, as long as you kept it cold. And if it's not purged and you're not going to keep it cold or any other conditions don't apply, you better drink it the week you bought it at the latest. Beer starts dying. Oxygen is really, really aggressive on beer, but we do tests and we can get sometimes even better airs in a whole quart hand filled than on machinery for it. We also do now have counter pressure filling machinery. So if you want to do a small run, some of these brewers it's within a brewer's right to pre-fill a growler. No one else can. You have to make this stuff. But you can use a machine that would pressurize, purge, fill, just like a large rotary line would, but one can at a time. It's slower, but it also offers more of a consistency. And then now there are some of the small machine manufacturers are jumping in and making automated machinery where it's hands off. You load the cans, they go in and they come out consistent, which is good because pre-filled stuff needs to be legal. That's another thing we can get into is everybody's opening themselves up to a lot of legal ramifications when they send out a quart of beer that hasn't been alcohol tested or isn't filled correctly. Because hey, if I hand fill a can a couple times, it's not going to be the same fill level every time. So, not to rain on the parade, it's it's just a fantastic vessel. But growler use has less limitation than treating it like a packaged product kind of thing. But yeah, so purge those cans.
Yeah, purge them. So what is the outside limit for storing a crowler if everything's done right?
I say a couple of weeks, just because that's proven to not disappoint.
Right.
If it's kept cold, I would say don't exceed a month. It should be weeks old max. A lot of places are now putting 7 days, 10 days, things like that right on the label. I think that's awesome because they put the date on it and everything. So the more information that advocates for drink fresh, don't age, I think is good, because people are selling this stuff into retail now and starting to distribute in that can and hand-filled stuff. We did it 15 years ago, but if we opened our brewery the way we opened our brewery 15 years ago and got to learn by mistakes and be one of the younger breweries in the industry, we wouldn't survive now. So the bar has been raised, and we need to stop flooding the market with whatever it takes to generate a sale kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess the big thing is like, hey, brewers, don't try to, well, actually consumers, don't try to tempt fate. Like Jeremy's got this awesome product that is so helpful for all of us. Like, don't try to push the limits and be pissed off if you opened it 2.5 months later and you're upset.
Right.
Like,
a Crowler's a
you drink it fresh.
Yeah.
This
Pilsner that I had on my dashboard for 2 months doesn't taste right.
Yeah. It's like, earlier you're saying like, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, and I definitely don't. Like, I want to Jeremy, I want to celebrate you because you have had an impact on my life. You haven't had an impact on the entire show. I was first introduced to the Crowler while I was celebrating a friend's 40th birthday on a little tour through Santa Cruz called the Santa Cruz Brew Cruise with our friend Annie Wolfpouch, who was Annie Pouch at the time. She introduced me to the Crowler at Santa Cruz Mountain Brewery in the Surf City Vintners area of the west side of Santa Cruz. And ever since then, I was hooked. I'm so stoked. I can bring back this fresh beer. It's not like I was carrying an empty growler around with me. Yeah. And I'm so upset about feeling like, and a lot of times I feel like breweries are kind of playing around with the law. They're saying like, oh, we can't fill a growler unless it's our own. It's like, oh, fuck you. You're just being a jerk. And so I was so stoked to see that for a really inexpensive price, you could get that one-use can of 32 ounces of whatever the hell you wanted. And I'm like, this is solid gold. And whenever I go to a new brewery, if they have a Crowler, I am bringing home several samples of their stuff because I just get stoked on it. Now, that being said, I got to come with the hard questions.
Bring it.
So, how do you feel about biodynamic farming? I kid. I mean, do you
asking me about business ethics?
I guess what I would say is this. I think in the craft brewery realm, cans have definitely gained a lot of steam over the last 10 years or so. I don't think there's really many people left that look down on cans when they talk about craft beer. And in the last maybe 2 years, there's a lot of companies going out of their ways to have multiple formats just because people are looking for cans.
Yep.
but we're seeing people kind of trying to test it in the wine world. And we're seeing a lot of people just rip on them the way that they were ripping on screw tops 10, 15 years ago.
Back in a box.
And what do you have to say to the naysayers saying nay when it comes to cans? What do you have to say to them?
All I do is hand them something to drink. That's how we got started, but that still applies to today. Sampling is how you get people over things. Making them have to make a financial decision on something that, we're habitual. So something that's not burned into your brain as where quality comes from. You have to create an experience. You have to be an educator, and you got to hang it out there, and you got to be able to take a couple chops to the throat, and stand by what you believe in, and learn from the people that like and don't like what you're doing. But Oskar Blues exists because we would go on a bike ride and then have a cooler of beer in the back of the Jeep and hang out in the parking lot, a couple of us, and whoever came by, we asked them if we wanted a beer. We didn't say, hey, do you want a can of beer? Because the answer would have been different. And we handed them a can of the beer, and I would look at the expression on their face and then watch them drink it. And then sometimes you win. So, you show up outdoors and ask somebody if they want some Chardonnay or whatever, and they say, yeah, you hand it to them. They should be happy, and then whether they like, whoever made it or not is a different thing. And other ways you can hoodwink them, and you just pour it in a glass and they say how great it is. And then you bounce it off their forehead and say, ha ha, it came in a can. And it's best to keep it positive, just give them what they want. And they didn't say, hey, could I get a bottle of this? And sometimes they do, but in those situations, more social, more direct interaction, just sample people, just, offer it up. I've got bottles of wine at home, but I've got cans of wine as well. And they go different places too. That helps.
Certainly. So let me ask you this then. Being that you're definitely can positive when it comes to Oskar Blues.
Yeah, very can centric.
When we are serving people beer from cans,
yep.
Do you think it's important to pour it into a glass?
I'd say it's situational. Every beverage is best consumed where you've got the biggest opportunity to stick your face in it. So the wider, or there's custom shapes too, but really, the top of the thing, the wider open it is, the better sensory experience you're going to get. And that does affect flavor. You got to be able to, when you got a cold, that, it doesn't taste the same. So if you block the sniffer, you don't get the full experience. Do I pour all my Dales into a glass? No, I just had the best time drinking out of a can. So it's situational. Yes, you can, if you want to dote on it, that's yes. But is it bad to drink it out of the can? Absolutely not. There's plenty going on. There's enough carbonation that you're getting hit with the good stuff. But yes, its full potential is reached in a wider vessel.
Okay. And I had this epiphany, and what I do on this show is I tell people how to run their business, because I think that Oskar Blues needs advice from me when it comes to cans. But I was thinking about the ability to shove your nose into something, and I'm wondering if I saw the resealable Crowler that you have.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are we ever going to get to a point where we've got cans with a fully removable lid that you could shove your whole face into and have it become an aluminum glass?
Yep, it exists.
Like can of peanuts.
It exists. Yeah, it's called full aperture, and it's a thing, and you can get that.
Okay, well, if you guys are using it, I'll sue you because I just invented it right now.
No, you didn't. Mike Hess down in San Diego actually uses it, I think, for a few things on his beers. Quite a few folks have put it on cans that go into sports arenas and stuff. because it's easier to drink from and stuff like that. But yeah, there's one of the can manufacturers makes a full kind of peel off one. Some of the issues with that is some states view that as people are going to litter a lot. The old pull tab cans got discontinued. Those old little pull tabs, because people were just littering. That's why the new, what you get now, stays on the can. So when you can tear it all the way off, there's certain states where it violates laws and things like that. But it's a thing. It does something. I'd say it's half gimmick, half cool, and it's got its place. But we were actually working on was when you pop it open, 2 straws were going to come out. And you put it up your nose and you actually drink through the straws.
I was going to say you tear it open on one side and then you push it down on the open and it opens a nose size hole on the other side so that you could.
There's some good ways. There's some tricks. You can use your elbow to crack it open and then you pull the thing off. I mean, there's some good stuff. We can have a little underground conversation on how to.
So it's not too late for me to become an aperturepreneur, is what you're saying. Okay.
You would
keep whining.
So is the crowd and for folks that haven't seen the Crowler, we as we said, it's a 32-ounce can. It's got the sealable top, and then there's just a little unit, a little sealer that goes in the
looks like a KitchenAid mixer.
Yeah, exactly.
It seals the lid to the can.
Takes up
in 6 seconds.
Put it in a foot by a foot and a half kind of space. It's a small space, and it spins it on and locks it in, and then you're good to go, right?
Yep. So, you just plug it in the wall and boom.
So can it be used for anything besides beer, or is it a beer only system?
Because these are cans that aren't labeled and not every product's tested, they are beer cans. So
okay.
The focus is on beer. We are actually in some testing phases for wine. Wine is a pretty aggressive product where beer is fairly passive. There's a lot of different compounds in there, not just pH. So we're testing that. And we want to get it right, though. So if we're going to open up a Crowler opportunity, wine is flat. That creates a structural issue. So if you fill up a Crowler can and that space that's left at the top, it's going to keep the can will be squishy. Just fill up a Crowler after you drink it with water and it's squishy, So that's not going to bode well for the integrity of the can. The can needs to be pressurized for it to have any kind of strength. So there's a little concern there. But once we can solve things like that, sky's the limit once we get permission from the guys that make the can. So we are being cautious. So we're keeping it just to beer. We're keeping it just growler style. We want everybody to have a good experience. So drink it fresh, put beer in it, recycle it, get a fresh new can each time. And we'll, as soon as we can get into other things, we will. But it will be centered always around alcoholic beverages. When you get into non-alcoholic beverages, they're all food. Well, they're all classed as food. They can kill you. Okay. If you put the wrong thing in there and don't treat it right, it will kill you. Where beer, things with a certain pH, alcohol and all that, they can make you sick, they can spoil, but they will not kill you unless you drink them in excess. But there's a lot of food products out there that are liquid that just should not be canned willy-nilly.
Yeah. They can actually, you can inject that stuff into your face and then it gets rid of your wrinkles though. So I think that's
well, once it grows botulism, you can Botox yourself with your product.
So I have to go back to this because I think there's a nice little marriage here. On the Oskar Blues front, you were talking about the cannabis that you're drinking right now. Yep. And I was just thinking, I don't know what's in it, but depending on what's in it, maybe some people you have enough cannabis, you might like a squishy can. Who knows?
Okay.
There are people canning weed, but it's not a Crowler can that I know of. Hey, if you want a pound of weed, that's
all right. John or Jeff, do you have any more questions before we move on?
No, I will. I don't have any other questions, but the best thing about Crowlers are they're not glass.
Mm-hmm. And no, that is one, but it's also that you don't have to bring anything with you. You could be in a brewery and be like, that's really good, and I want to take it home and not have to spend $19 to buy a growler to be able to take it home, and then have a giant glass thing that you will never use again on your shelf.
You know what an empty growler is?
Huge, but the biggest thing that there is a strike against it. It's a one-way container. The good thing about the glass is you can reuse it. There's an easy way to overcome the issue with it being a one-way container, and that's recycle. I mean, we put right on there, recycle or else. So there's, it's imperfect, but it's a pretty great package. We're pretty proud of it, but we don't shy away from the negatives.
You offer any incentive to get people to bring it back to maybe make sure it recycles? So if you brought back a Crowler, you get
John, absolutely
10 cents off your next refill.
Yeah, we've actually encouraged people to create, almost some folks will include the price of the can with the beer purchase. Others say it's $1 or whatever. Either way, we encourage them to have it as a deposit, and you bring it back, you get that buck back. It increases business, and it also creates, you really know that you did everything in your power to make sure that gets recycled. So we have encouraged quite a few folks with that, especially with the reseal. The reseal comes at a premium. It's a more expensive lid. So a lot of folks are like, do I charge more or what do I do? And, yes, charge more. You can make a little more, but also create that program and get an engagement from the customer. Absolutely.
Is it a different machine for the reseal lid?
We actually made our machine compatible with everything without changing a thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
And wanted to keep it as low tech as possible. It's still a machine, so it is still hammering metal together, and there's some moving parts. So it does need to be cleaned and lubricated and respected. So that's why we remain vigilant on reaching out to everybody and trying to provide as much support as possible. But, we have cases. I mean, I get calls on the weekend. I overnight a machine because something went wrong. Who cares whose fault it is? Just get back to up and running.
Mm-hmm.
For some folks, it's their only method of selling stuff to go. People are opening now and they're like, we're only doing Crowler.
Nice.
I mean, that's fantastic. And
awesome.
It's a testament to what the potential is. And so we make sure that we support them as best we can.
Do you have a number? Like, how many Crowler systems do you have out there in the U.S., and who is the biggest state?
California is the biggest. And even with no on-premise and off-premise retail licenses available, with just breweries, it eclipses any other state. And it's about 3,000. We have about 3,000
awesome.
out there. There are other manufacturers of machines. Some we support, some we don't, because some folks will buy a machine from so-and-so, and then they'll want cans, and we have warehouses around the country. So we have the ability to minimize freight costs and the carbon footprint, and, have also provide great labeling services. So we will sell them cans, even though they don't have our machine. And then there's other instances where we're not a fan of the methodology, so we don't support those. It's a tough thing to do, but it's all about the integrity of the package and a bit of the brand. Even though it's Ball's brand, it's not ours. We just stand behind it as best we can.
Man, Jeremy, this has been fantastic, man. Thank you so much for joining us. I forgot to do the mid roll and say we're talking to Jeremy Rudolf from Oskar Blues Brewery. You can find them at oskarblues.com and on all the socials at Oskar Blues. And I should say that is OSCAR BLUES.
Except it's a K.
Oh, did I say Steve? K-A-R. Oh my goodness, that was.
Let me point out, it's spelled just the way you think it is.
Yeah,
Wait,
exactly.
no, it's not.
No, it's not. Jeff, anything else? Sorry about that.
It's all good.
That's okay. I just wanted to mirror
that was spell check.
I just wanted to mirror like an empty glass growler in anticipation of what you're gonna buy. Walking around with one of those things, it's kind of like I was at a Halloween pub crawl, and the guy was dressed up like the dude from The Big Lebowski, and it was fantastic. Such a great outfit. Dude carried a rug around with him, and it was. I'm like, that's a great outfit, but that was a really dumb idea. Because like you're just gonna be upset that you're
That's
just
tedious.
lugging that thing around. And like that's what a glass growler is. Like you don't have to carry a rug around to pull off the dude. And by the way, my wife still didn't get the guy's costume, which was so cute. She's like, I don't get it. What is he, a homeless rug salesman?
All right. So we're going to move on. I was going to ask one more really stupid question, but I'm not going to do it. We're going to move on. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get into the rest of the show. We hope you'll stick around to get to the rest of the stupidity. So let's do it right now and get into Booze News. We discuss interesting, noteworthy, or sometimes some pretty dumb things. John Ruyak.
Okay, so this story came out, I guess, on VinePair about 10 days ago. And it says, hey, note to craft beer fans, it's okay to drink the same beer twice. So kind of a real hard knock on just the untapped number crunchers and badge whores that are out there, just to say, look, guys, if you got to drink the same beer twice, or places are going to go out of business. You can't constantly be just running around across the block to try the newest thing because, hey, I mean, we do 4 seasonals, but that's every quarter. So, we want people to come around a little more often than that. Get a couple of regular beers and drink them.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's funny that this came up because we've been talking about this for like a couple months now, about this kind of untapped effect and what it's having on breweries, and how breweries are making these minor changes to their beers but then having to go through the renaming process, but essentially to kind of get people to try that beer again. And so, Jeremy, I'm wondering, are you guys seeing this effect? Or are you guys doing anything about this kind of untapped effect at Oskar Blues?
Well, we do. I mean, we see it. We're living in the middle of it. We've got folks that just want to come through and tick the box. We've got folks that come back all the time. We've got folks that are coming in and loading up for people that will never make it to the brewery. And there's a plus and the minus of that. If it's somebody that lives in Denver that's going to never come to the brewery, they got some mule to come get the beer so they can try. That's just weird. I mean, like if your leg's broken or something, like just email me. I'm Jeremy at OskarBlues.com. I'll pick you up. Like it just, I don't know, but everybody's got a hobby. I like collecting silver coins, and I've done some weird stuff too. So, I mean, it's, and I bought more than one of the same coin. It's okay. I really like that coin.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're all weirdos in some way or not. But yeah, the competitive nature is pretty interesting, and chest beating kind of stuff is pretty wild. But we've got 4 fantastic limited edition beers coming off on Friday. And, if it doesn't go off without a hitch, we'll get burned to the ground, by just, there's just such a rage about it. And what we really want to do is have a lot of fun and have people hang out. We don't want like to run the turnstile. People are like, oh, you got to get them in and out fast, I guess. But yeah, I just really enjoy having people come experience our place. We've got a little bit of space. And if it takes a while to get in, I don't know, like, sorry, it takes a little while to get in, but there's just a lot of ways to look at it. I would just hope that if you're going to go get a beer, you get the experience too, and really come away with it more, because you might not like the beer, but you probably, if there's a buzz around a beer, it's not because they're making just that beer. Something got them there. There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and hopefully that's not just a guy with a cash register just buzzing people through, because that plays into the just tick the box kind of thing. Hopefully there's more of an opportunity for engagement, see the place, walk around, and get, do tours and stuff like that. Tours aren't lame. Tours are different everywhere.
Tours are
people
awesome.
love and hate and create a lot of feedback. And it should be a live brewery when that goes on, not just a, hey, hurry up, give me your money, get out of the way. I think that plays into more of that mentality of hurry up, rush into Walmart, grab the TV and take off.
And that's really the thing about alcohol, right? It's a thing about beer, and it's the thing about wine, is these are things that are meant to slow you down.
It's experiential.
For a moment. It's like you're supposed to be able to pause and enjoy what has been crafted for you, and it spurs conversation. So it's not about, and look, we all have Untapped on our phones, I'm not going to lie, but
sure,
you can check in things more than once, but it's also get your check in, but then talk to the people around you, get to experience where you're at. Jeff Solomon.
By the way, I'm on Untapped as the king of all wine media. Here's the thing I want us to think about is I'm not bothered so much about people wanting the next new thing. Because I think honestly, maybe we're all kind of interested in stuff like that. People used to freak out over oh, did you hear the latest Kanye track? This is me trying to be hip, because I'm shaking my shoulders. But I can see that with beer. People are excited by stuff that's new from breweries that they like, and I'm cool with that. I also see that as an opportunity. If everybody's zigging, I have an opportunity to zag, and I have an opportunity to maybe go focus on some beers. Hear that, Ryan Hannigan? We keep saying that throughout the show. I'm going to focus on the beers that maybe I didn't get a chance to focus on a couple months ago because everybody's over here and I'm over here. That's one thing I would want to think about. I did find it interesting, though, in that Vine Pair article. The whole thing starts by a bunch of folks going into this big brewery festival that they paid hundreds of dollars to go to. And the author was lamenting that, everybody was at all these places that have stuff that was new. And then here's these tried and true, I think it was Heady Topper or whatever, that nobody was in line for that. And my thing is well, if somebody's paying $100-something to go to this brewery tasting, they probably have already had that before, and they've got a little 4-ounce glass, right. And it's that's your opportunity to try something new. I would think it's weird if somebody went into a festival like that and only went for beers that they had before.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at,
when we have a brewery, when we have a beer festival, sorry, didn't mean to catch you on the end there. We're not the most popular booth at the beer festival. It's our beer festival, and that's okay. It's kind of like a Crowler thing. It's creating access. It's bringing beers together. So there are people that didn't have an Oskar Blues beer at the Oskar Blues Beer Festival, and that's okay. And there's they're rushing over to the guys from New Mexico that they can't get on the regular and stuff. So it's there's nothing wrong with that at all. But yeah, there is kind of that, respect the core kind of thing, and all that. You do want to remember where you came from and all that, but you hang on that too long, then you're a dinosaur, So it's the new stuff definitely drives a lot of attention. But when the folks leave, they are drinking more of everything else than that thing they got one of. So it's and people are busy, time is valuable and stuff. So it's a tough thing, but yeah, I just don't like the competitive, snarkiness. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
Beer Pokemon.
So what is you've been at enough beer festivals on the other side of the table that maybe you could enlighten us a little bit. What is the snarkiest, snobbiest, beeriest thing that you've experienced?
They're like, where's the wine?
Freaking wine people. Wait, what? All right. Anything else on the Untapped phenomenon there, fellas?
I think it's Untapped has awesome stuff. It's a social platform. It's also a great like record keeping kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, they provide a lot of things. We've used it on certain in certain tap rooms and stuff, and it really is an interesting tool. And then people kind of give it its own second life, a secondary life, that kind of thing.
Would you be okay if Untapped changed their model to allow you that every time you checked in a Dale's Pale Ale, that counted as a Pale Ale check-in, and that you didn't have to check in a new beer to get whatever tick to get to your next badge or sticker?
Right. You can get a Dale's medal, or you just get you could generalize it, Pale Ale medal. I mean, I think it could be broadened. Absolutely.
I think so.
I think people, and then because they're going to be competing with a different group of people, and as long as you can drill down into the data, because nowadays with technology, everything is got so much extra stuff baked into it. It's just whether the query or report, pulls what you want to know. So you change one little thing. I mean, there can be all, and that doesn't make it disingenuous. Like the one of each Pale Ale award is not more valuable than the how many Pale Ales you drank this week award. I think they're fun. Like people do like merit based awards.
Absolutely. The gamification is a huge thing.
And I'm all for people drinking Pale Ales.
Yeah. All right.
Leave it to Jeff Eccles. I should get credit for the second beer I drank. Yeah. I bet you used to lobby your teachers to round their grades up. Hey, shout out to all the teachers that have to deal with that bullshit the last week before finals. Can you round it up? Fuck you.
In case anybody was wondering, I just checked in with this Oakspire, and that's unique check-in 1142.
Okay.
God damn.
All right. If we're to that point, it must be
Last call.
last call. Time to clean house and
Who
lock.
are we going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're losing control quick, so I got to hurry up. It's time to break out your
42?
phone and get the last minute hookup with us. So, folks, Jeff Solomon, you take us through this.
Wait, I just noticed that. You want to hook up with us? This is not the program I signed up for. Hey, make sure to follow us on Instagram follow us on Instagram as We Like Drinking. We're on Twitter at We Like Drinking 1. That's the numeral 1. Find us on Facebook. We've got a page you can like. It's just We Like Drinking. But we love interacting with all our friends in our Facebook private group, The Tavern. So just search for We Like Drinking, The Tavern. And as Eccles would say, get down with the sickness of the tavern.
I don't like the tavern anymore. I do not like the tavern anymore.
You know what? They were fucking with us. Yeah. Fuck you too. This is what I'm doing this week. I'm calling out students. I'm calling out tavernites. Tavern, you lost your fucking privileges. You know what you did. You know what you did.
We, Jeremy, we in our private group, every month we have a drinking episode where we focus on either a wine or a beer. And this month it's going to be a wine. Okay. And we made this terrible mistake of going to the tavern and saying, we're going to leave it wide open. You guys create the poll on what you want us to drink, and then we'll take it to our Patreon to vote down what the final thing we'll drink. So far, we've got get blackout drunk on Four Locos. We've got a box wine comparison. I mean, it's just this was a terrible idea, and
I will say this: even though like the orange wine came from a serious place, like that's a whole lot of extra work that we have to do to get orange wines.
I have to make my own.
I mean, I honestly would rather drink Dom Perignon. I'd pay to not have to do the work to get a good orange wine.
It's completely blown up on our face, which we should have known coming from the tap.
Just stick to beer, Jesus.
Yeah. So folks, also search up the show on Apple Podcasts and leave us a big fat 5-star review. We'd appreciate that. And also visit weliketrinking.com/pledge if you'd like to save us from having to do the freaking Four Loco challenge and find out how you can help us out there. Jeremy, one last time, what's the best place for our listeners to find out more about Oskar Blues on the socials? And maybe you should spell it for them since I misspelled it earlier.
Good old, just punch in Oskar Blues wherever you go, on the Insta, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Grinder,
and check out OskarBlues.com as well. You can also find the show notes for this episode about the links to the stories or mentions we had at WeLikeDrinking.com/episode. Or if you're on your phone or on Grinder, swipe right. So with that, we've reached the time where I get to say, okay, panel, let's take one last trip around this table and get some final thoughts before we shut off the lights. John Ruyak.
I just want to tell you how much the technology sucks. So, right, you just sent the link, right? So I go on, I get my phone ready. And I said, you know what? I'm going to listen to a little YouTube and get jazzed for the show. So I pull up Black Sabbath Supernaut, one of the heaviest songs of all time. And I'm singing along with it. I'm singing along with Ozzy, and all of a sudden Google Assistant wants to come on and say, what do you want? What do you want? As I'm saying.
Turn that crap off, John.
I didn't know they say Alexa in the middle of that song.
Jeff Solomon.
Hey, on a more somber note, I wanted to say rest in peace to one Penny Marshall. And on a lighter note, because Penny Marshall would have wanted it this way, stop the music.
All right, let's hear it. I want to hear your rendition.
Something, with the something. We're gonna make our dreams come true. This is the glove on the beer bottle. Doing it always, making our dreams come true for me and you. Hey, I'm in the void. Okay.
What happened to
Bring
the
it back.
Schlemiesel and the Schlemiesel?
Wow, you murdered that.
I haven't watched a rerun of that since I was 8. So I apologize.
Jeremy, any final thoughts as this train goes barreling off the tracks and we let you get out of here?
I just appreciate you guys bringing me on. Make sure to keep drinking what you like to drink responsibly. And if I could borrow something that a guy named DJ said before a bike race in Arizona, don't litter and don't be a dick.
Words to live by.
Yes.
And before I got two things. First, Jeremy Rudolf, in this time of the year, red-nosed reindeer, fan, enemy, or friend, enemy, or frenemy?
You know, I made it through grade school, so I'm pretty good. I'm tempered in jokes around the holidays.
All right.
The biggest issue is everybody spells my last name wrong because Rudolph is known with a PH, and I'm Czech, not German, so it's spelled with an F. But
with a K.
I have a minor ism for it. I prefer to be called Jeremy than Rudolph, but I haven't killed anybody yet.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Folks, if you have not gotten an Oskar Blues can in your hand yet, be sure to do so. And look for, if you see a Crowler station out there, get it filled up and send a thank you note to Jeremy for that, the inventor of it. And with that, I'll say thanks again for joining us at the We Like Drinking podcast, where you'll never drink alone.
She thinks I'm cute.
I know. I'm a dentist.
I assume that's Ryan Hannigan. Has he said anything through the show, or is he just...
You know, he did beforehand, but he's been quiet. I think he's just soaking it all up. I think his floor is a little wet too. So.
Oh, it's so gross. All right, Ryan, if you're still watching, good to see you join us, brother. And we'll sign out here.